Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So today in this video we are going to take a look at this computer power supply, and this is the Ant Value ECO500. So recently while I was using my computer, my 8-year-old power supply, which was this one, this was the Zebronics ZB450. This stopped working because of a short circuit, so I opened this power supply and found out that the fuse was blown. I replaced the fuse, but again the fuse kept on blowing, so there is something major wrong with this power supply, and I don't think I will be able to fix this anymore. And to replace this power supply I got this one. Now I'm still running a very old computer. It's about 18 years old computer. It's still running a Pentium dual core processor, so I did not need a very high power supply for my computer. But the reason I got this one is because I wanted something substantial. So if in future I want to upgrade my computer, I will be able to do that. And because it has more power, it will be running cooler, supplying very low power to my computer as is. So this is how it came in. This is a 500 watt constant power supply, so that it can supply 500 watts of constant power, not peak power. If you take a look at the back of the box, you can see that some of the power information are given here, and these are the connectors that you will get with this power supply. So the most important connector in a power supply is your motherboard 24-pin connector, also called as the 20+4-pin connector. This is the biggest connector on a power supply. Then you will get your 8-pin EPS, also known as P8 connector, or your CPU power connector. This supplies power to your processor. In my case, my motherboard only has a 4-pin connector, so I will be only needing half of this connector. It comes with 4 SATA ports. That means you can install a 4 number of hard disk drive or 4 number of SSDs on your machine. It comes with 2 Molex port, so if you want to install external cabinet fan, you can do that, or sometimes there are some devices available which works on Molex power. A couple of years ago, most CD-ROMs, CD drives would take power from the Molex connector as well, and some older hard drive could be powered by the Molex connector. But these days Molex connectors are hardly used unless you're running a cabinet fan. So that's pretty much about the box and the specification on top there. And the one thing I forgot to mention is that it comes with a 120mm fan. So let's just open the box and take a look at how it looks from inside. Here it is. So as you can see, the power supply looks very nice. You will get a decent piece of power cable. Let me just keep it aside. Then you will get the power supply itself. It doesn't feel very heavy, quite light, and inside there you will also get 4 pieces of screws. So that's pretty much what you get inside the box. Let me keep the box aside for now and let us focus on the power supply itself. Here you will get a small user manual, which if you want you can read, but we will not be needing to read this guide. Now we take a look at the power connector, power cable. Let me just open it. So the power cable feels decent quality. You can see this is your 3-pin connector, which is lined with a little bit of plastic parts, so this prevents a little extra electric shock prevention. The 3-pin plug here is also quite sturdy, so the power supply cable is decent. If you measure the length of this cable, got my tape measure here. Let's start from here. You can see the length of this power cable is coming out to be about 58 inches, or almost 150 centimeters. So about 1.5 meter long power cable you're getting with this. So this should be long enough to reach your cabinet from your wall socket. Now let's take a look at the power supply itself. So this is how the power supply looks. As you can see, it comes with an 120mm fan with a small grid to prevent your finger from getting inside. At the back you will see your 3-pin power socket. Doesn't come with a switch. I usually like power supply that comes with a switch, because you have an option to turn off the power to your computer right from the power supply. You don't always have to reach your wall plug. Again, the same specification that were on the box. You can see that maximum load is about 15 ampere. The same thing, again the model number ECO500. And that's pretty much it. Now this is a non-modular power supply. Modular means you can decide which cable you want to connect to the power supply and which cable you don't want. You can always remove it. But a non-modular means that all the cables are always connected to the power supply, and you have to decide which cable you want to use. The one that you are not using will have to be tucked away somewhere inside your cabinet. Let me just open the cable as well. Right, so as you can see, these are the cable that we are getting with this. Cable feels decent quality, all right, but I preferred the older style cables. These colored ones, I think that they looked much better. The other thing is with these types of cable is that if you wanted to test your power supply, you can always look for the green color connector and a black connector. You can always short them to check whether your power supply is okay or not. So that was a good thing. But in this case, because all the wires are black colored, it will be a little difficult to test the power supply as is. Anyways, so this is your biggest connector. This is your 24 pin connector, 20 pin plus 4 pin connector, 24 pin connector. Then we will have our EPS connector. This is our EPS connector or P8 connector. You can separate them. So if your motherboard has 4 pin connector, you can only use single. If your motherboard has 8 pin connector, you can combine them just like that, and you can use the 8 pin connector. Here is our SATA connector. So you've got three pieces of SATA connector, but clearly it mentioned that on the box you're supposed to get 4 pieces of SATA connector, but in this case we've only got 3 pieces of SATA connector, and we've only got 1 Molex connector, but on the box it says we will get 2 pieces of Molex connector. So the specification written on the box is completely false. You can see 4 SATA connector and 2 Molex connector, but as you can see here, we've got 2 SATA connector, the third SATA connector, and we've only got 1 Molex connector. So they are clearly lying on top of the box about the connectors that comes with this power supply. Anyways, these are the connectors that we get with this power supply. Clearly not the same as mentioned on the box, but this should be enough for my Pentium dual core processor computer. I'm also smelling a little bit of electronic smell. I'm not sure whether the power supply is faulty or not, but let's just plug it in and see whether it works or not. Alright guys, so as you can see, I've installed this power supply on my computer, and I've been running this power supply for more than 5 days now. Before installing this properly, I wanted to see whether this power supply will hold up or not. So for the past 5 days it is working properly, and I do not feel any heating problems. The air that is coming out from there is completely not at all warm. The fan is working fine, absolutely silent power supply. No problem with the connectors. The SATA power connector that I connected to the hard disk was a little tight in the beginning, but eventually it will be a little smoother over time. So far for the past 5 days it is working. Now that I'm convinced that this power supply will hold up and will not go bad, let us install this properly in this computer. Well guys, now that we know our power supply is working, let us install it properly on this cabinet. So this is my Intex cabinet, and here I've got my power supply. In this case the fan will go facing bottom. So let's just install this power supply and see whether this will fit or not. Right, so as you can see, the power supply is fitting really well. What I have to do now is put on 4 screws. So let's open the packet that came with the power supply. Inside there you will find 4 screws. Let me just install all of them one by one. Next one, I'm gonna take another one. That's 2. Right, so as you can see, a power supply is now installed. Let us connect all the connectors. Okay guys, so I've got all the connectors here. So the first thing that we will install is the biggest connector, which is the 12 pin connector, which will fit in here. So let me just do that. But as you can see, just beside that we've got our 4 pin CPU power connector. and because that's behind, so I'm going to install that first because it's going to be easier. So take your 4-pin connector out of the 8-pin that we got with this power supply. Make sure you match this notch which is facing that way. So I'm going to install it, push it down, make sure that it is connected properly, and it is. Now I'm going to take my 24-pin connector, because now there is we wouldn't be able to if I had installed the 24-pin connector first, it would have been a little difficult to put the 4-pin connector then. So let me install the 24-pin connector now, aligning all the pins. Press it down. So our 24-pin connector is also now installed. So now motherboard has got power. The final thing we need to do is we need to install our hard drive, and then we will connect our SATA power connector. Okay guys, now to install our hard drive, we need to find a SATA power connector. So this is our SATA power connector. So take your hard drive and connect the SATA power connector on top of the hard drive. Make sure you're facing the right orientation, and it is now connected. Make sure the data cable is also connected, and now I will install it in my PC. So the hard drive is now inserted. Finally, let us take all the non-used wires that we've got here. So I've got a couple of these wires. I've got my 4-pin CPU connector left, and I've got 2 SATA port left. So I'm going to fold them together, and I will use the twisty cable that came with the packaging, and I will twist them together, and I will insert them inside this DVD drive. Empty bay, because we won't be needing, there's no DVD drive installed in this CPU. In this cabinet, as you can see, this is completely empty, and this is my Intex cabinet, very old but very, very strong. Right, so everything is now installed. The only thing left to do is we need to also plug in our hard drive to our SATA port. So let us plug in our hard drive. So as you can see, that is a SATA port. I'm going to take my hard drive, plug this in. So our hard drive is now plugged in, and this is how our power supply looks on this cabinet. Very nice. And this is how it looks from the behind. Now one thing I would have preferred if there was a power button here, that would have been really nice. Anyways, let's just plug the power cable in. So here I've got my power cable, and one thing I was struggling a little bit when I first installed this power supply, when I first started using this power supply, is that you have to insert this connector really in. So in the beginning, what I did was I simply inserted it just like that, and it wasn't going in. I thought maybe it's completely in. I tried this for at least half an hour, nothing happened, and then I realized you have to be really push it in, and you really have to push it in. As you can see, there is still a little bit of space left. So once it's caught in there, now this is plugged in, and now the power supply will work. When I first plugged it in, this wouldn't work for at least half an hour, and I kept thinking for another half an hour. So after one and a half hour, I decided to do everything all over again. Removed everything, removed every wire, checked the power supply separately, but because the main power was not connected properly, it was not working. So make sure that you plug this really in, and then try your power supply. Hopefully that will work. So everything is now plugged in. Hopefully I've done everything correctly. I've cleaned the CPU a little bit so that dust will not accumulate very quickly. So let's just turn this on and see if it works or not. So at the front I've got my power button. Let me just press this in. So as you can see, fan is working. Let's wait for the beep. We heard the beep, and here is our display. Let's see if it posts. I'm running a Windows 7 still on this computer. We're getting a typical classic Windows 7 starting procedure. I think Windows 7 was and still is the best operating system. Very efficient, runs very fast even on older platforms. I really don't understand why Microsoft keep messing up with Windows again and again. The other thing about Windows 7 was that it wouldn't take a lot of data from your data plan. You plug in Windows 10, a lot of your data would be used by Windows 10. Plug in Windows 11, a lot of your internet data is used by Windows 11. Windows 7 hardly uses anything. My 2 GB data that I use from my phone works almost throughout the day, and I even have a lot of data left at the end. Anyways, that's our Windows 11 turning on chime. The screen is coming on, monitor is faulty, don't worry about it, but the main thing is that our power supply is now working. I've been using this for about 5 days now. Obviously the power supply was outside the cabinet. It didn't heat up, no issues at all, and hopefully this will last me really long. So there we go, this was my video on this Ant Value Eco Power Supply 500. I hope you find this video helpful. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.